Good morning, students. Today we will start with a new chapter, that is chapter number 7, which discusses with the structure organization in animals. As you know, all living beings have tissues in their body. These tissues are made out of several thousand cells. Again, these tissues will be formed into organs, and then the organs will form into a organelle system. So in this chapter you will come across a large variety of organisms, both unicellular and multicellular. You know what is a unicellular? That is an organization having one cell, and multicellular means an organism having many cells in the animal kingdom. In unicellular organism, all functions like digestion, respiration and reproduction are performed by a single cell. For example, in amoeba, you have seen that only a single cell that helps in digestion, respiration, reproduction. Now, but in the complex body of multicellular animals, the same basic functions are carried out by different group of cells as well as organized manner. The body of a simple organism like Hydra is made of different types of cells, and the number of cells in each type can be in thousands. The human body is composed of billions and billions of cells to perform various functions. How do these cells in the body work together? The multicellular animal, a group of similar cells along with intercellular substance, perform a specific function. Such an organization is called tissue. So, in the next lines, you will be surprised to know that all complex animal consist of only 4 basic type of tissues. These tissues are organized in specific proportion and pattern to form an organ like stomach, lungs, heart and kidney. When 2 or more organs perform a common function by which physical and chemical interactions, they together form an organ system, like the respiratory system, like the digestive system or the excretory system, where you will find several organs come together and they work together to perform the functions. The organ system split up the work in a way that exhibits division of labor and contribute to the survival of the body as a whole. So these cells, tissues, organs, they are made to perform their own functions, and they never are late, or they don't delay their work, or they don't keep themselves away from the work. They all work together, and thus an animal body can survive for years with the help of these cells, organs and the tissues. So now we will continue what happens and what are the shapes of these organs, of these tissues. We will see in detail. So students, we have seen the different types of diagrams in which we have seen the animal tissues. The shape of the tissues we have already seen. Now let us learn something more about this type of tissues. The structure of the cell vary according to their function. Therefore, the tissues are different and are broadly classified into 4 types: epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue, and neural tissue. Now let us discuss what is epithelial tissue. We commonly refer to an epithelial tissue as epithelium. This tissue has a free surface which faces either a body fluid or the outside environment and thus provides a covering or a lining for some part of the body. The cells are compactly packed with little intercellular matrix. There are 2 types of epithelial tissues, namely the simple epithelium and the compound epithelium. Simple epithelium is composed of a single layer of cells and functions as a lining for the body activities, ducts and tissues. The compound epithelium consists of 2 or more cell layers and has protective function as it does in our skin. On the basis of structural modification of the cells, simple epithelium is further divided into 3 types. These are squamous, cuboidal, columnar. So these 3 diagrams you have already seen that I had drawn on the board. Now let us discuss what is a squamous epithelium. The squamous epithelium is made of a single thin layer of flattened cells with irregular boundaries. They are found in the walls of the blood vessels and air sacs of the lungs and are involved in functions like forming a diffusion boundary. So where these cells are found, mostly the squamous epithelium, they are found in the blood vessels and the air sac of the lungs. This is the 2 main places where they are found. The cuboidal epithelium is composed of a single layer of cube-like cells. This is commonly found in the ducts of glands and tubular parts of nephrons in the kidney. So, the cuboidal epithelium is found commonly in the glands and the nephrons of the kidney, and its main functions are secretion and absorption. So, you know about the function, it is secretion and absorption. The epithelium of proximal convoluted tubule, that is PCT, of the nephron in the kidney has microvilli. The columnar epithelium is composed of a single layer of tall and slender cells. Their nuclei are located at the base. Free surface may have microvilli. They are found in the lining of the stomach and intestine and help in secretion and absorption. So again, columnar epithelium has free surface microvilli, which are mainly found in the stomach and the intestine for the secretion and absorption purpose. If the columnar or cuboidal cell bear cilia on their free surface, they are called ciliated epithelium. Their function is to move particles or mucus in specific direction over the epithelium. So cilia are help them to move from one place to another. They are mainly present in the inner surface of hollow organs like the bronchioles and fallopian tubes. Now let us see what happens. Some of the columnar or cuboidal cells get specialized for secretion and are called glandular epithelium. They are mainly of two types: unicellular, consisting of isolated glandular cells, and multicellular, consisting of cluster of cells. Cluster means a group of cells that are found in the salivary gland. If you have seen the diagram of the salivary gland, you will see a cluster of glands that is called the salivary glands, a group of glands. On the basis of the mode of pouring of their secretion, glands are divided into two categories, namely exocrine and endocrine. So you know what is exocrine, that is the outer, and the endocrine, that is the inner gland. Exocrine glands secrete mucus, saliva, earwax, oil milk, digestive enzymes, and other cell products. So exocrine glands secrete all these secretions. They are mucus, saliva, earwax, oil milk, digestive enzymes, and other things. These products are released through ducts or tubes. In contrast with the endocrine glands, do not have these ducts. Their products called hormones are secreted directly into the fluid bathing the gland. So have you followed this? What is glandular epithelium? Now we will move on to the compound epithelium. What is a compound epithelium? Is made of more than one layer of cell and thus has a limited role in secretion and absorption. Their main function is to provide protection against chemical and mechanical stress. They cover the dry surface of the skin, the moist surface of buccal cavity, pharynx, inner linings of ducts of salivary glands and of pancreatic ducts. All cells in epithelium are held together with little intercellular material in nearly all animal tissue. Specialized junction provide both structural and functional links between its individual cells. Three types of cell junctions are found in the epithelium and other tissue. These are called as tight adhering and gap junctions. The tight junction help to stop substance from leaking across a tissue. Then the adhering junction. What is adhering means to come closer to other. It works as a glue. Adhering means glue, performing cementing to keep neighboring cells together. Then comes the gap junction. Facilitate the cells to communicate with each other by connecting the cytoplasm of adjoining cells for rapid transfer of ions, small molecules and sometimes big molecules. So I hope you have followed what is the function of the compound epithelium. They are multi-layered, they have junctions, three junctions that are tight junction, adhering junction and gap junction, which having different types of functions. Now we come to the connective tissue. We have already seen in the diagram the three types of connective tissues. Connective tissues are most abundant and widely distributed in the body of complex animals. They are named connective tissue because of their special function of linking and supporting other tissue organs of the body. They range from soft connective tissue to specialized types which include cartilages, bones, adipose, and blood. So, connective tissues are present in the bones, in the cartilages, in the adipose, and also in the blood. Remember, blood is a tissue. In all connective tissues except blood, the cell secretes fiber of structural protein called the collagen or elastin. The fibers provide strength elastically and flexibly to the tissue. These cells also secrete modified polysaccharides, which accumulate between cells and fibers and act as matrix. Connective tissues are classified into three types, that is, the loose connective tissue, the dense connective tissue, and the specialized connective tissue. So, I had already shown you the two diagrams of the loose connective tissue and the dense connective tissue. Now, we will discuss what is a loose connective tissue. Loose connective tissue has cells and fibers loosely arranged in a semi-fluid ground substance. For example, alveolar tissue present beneath the skin. Often it serves as a support framework for epithelium. It contains fibroblast, macrophages, and mast cells. Adipose tissue is another type of loose connective tissue located mainly beneath the skin. The cells of this tissue are specialized to store fat. The excess of nutrients which are not used immediately are converted into fat and are stored in this tissue. Fibers and fibroblasts are compactly packed in the dense connective tissue. Orientation of fibers show a regular or irregular pattern and are called dense, irregular, and dense, regular, and dense, irregular tissues. In the dense, regular connective tissue, the collagen fibers are present in rows between many parallel bundles of fibers. Tendons, which attach skeletal muscles to bones, and ligaments, which attach one bone to another, for example, of these tissues. Dense, irregular connective tissues has fibroblast and many fibers that are oriented differently. This tissue is present in the skin of the cartilage, bones, blood, and various types of specialized connective tissues. So, I hope you have followed whatever you have read about the connective tissues. The word connective itself gives us the entire meaning that they help in connecting different blood, bones, ligaments, etc. The intercellular material of cartilage is solid and malleable and resists compression. Cells of this tissue are enclosed in small cavities within the matrix secreted by them. Most of the cartilages in vertebrate embryos are replaced by bones in adults. Cartilage is present in the tip of nose, outer ear joints, between adjacent bones of vertebral columns, limbs, and hands in the adult. So, cartilages are those places where the cartilages are present. You know, the tip of the nose, the ear joint, and the adjacent bones of the vertebral column. Now, what is a bone? Bones have a hard and non-malleable ground substance rich in calcium salts and collagen fibers, which give bone its strength. So, Basically, bones are made out of calcium. So, everybody should remember that they should take plenty of calcium in their diet so that the bones can remain steady, healthy, and they don't break easily. It is the main tissue that provides structural frame of the body. The frame, the shape of the body is given by the bone. As you know, if there would not be any bones in a body, we would be like a jellyfish without any shape. So, bones provide shape to our body. Bones support and protect softer tissues and organs. So, the tissues and organs which are very delicate are protected with the bones. The bone cells are present in the space called the lacuna. Limb bones, such as the long bones of the legs, serve weight-bearing functions. So, you know, for your entire life, your leg bone bears the weight of your body. They also interact with skeletal muscle attached to them to bring about movement. The bone marrow in some bone is the site of production of blood cells. Blood. What is a blood? Now we will see what is a blood. Blood is a fluid, connective tissue. You all know that blood is itself a tissue containing plasma, red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. So blood contains all these four things. You remember? They are plasma, the platelets, the RBCs, and the WBCs. It is the main circulating fluid that helps in the transport of various substances. So, the blood carries oxygen to the body, it carries minerals, nutrition to each and every part of our body. Now, we will see the muscle tissue. Each muscle is made of many long cylindrical arranged in parallel arrays. So, I had already drawn the diagram on the board and you can follow it from your book. These fibers are composed of numerous fine fibrils called the myofibrils. Muscle fibers contract in response to stimulation, then relax and return to their uncontracted state in a coordinated fashion. Their action moves the body to adjacent to the change in the environment and to maintain the position of the various parts of the body. In general, muscle plays an active role in all the movement of the body. So, muscles are of three types: skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle, which I have already shown you the diagram. Now, we will read more about the skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle tissue is closely attached to skeletal bones. It is a typical muscle such as the biceps. Straighted skeletal muscle fibers are bundled together in a parallel fashion. Bundle means, you know, a bundle of wood. In the same fashion, these muscles are put together. A sheath of tough connecting tissue encloses several bundles and muscle fibers. What is a smooth muscle? As I have already said in the diagram, the smooth muscle fibers taper at both ends. Taper means they look like, you must have seen the drumsticks, how they taper at both the ends. It is in the same fashion the smooth cells are seen and do not show striation. Striation, I explained to you on the board, the linings that are found on the muscles. Cell junctions hold them together and they are bundled together in a connective tissue sheath. The wall of internal organ such as the blood vessels, stomach, and intestine contains this type of muscle tissue. So you see, these tissues are present in the blood vessels, in the stomach, in the intestine, and the muscle tissues. Smooth muscles are involuntary as their functioning cannot be directly controlled. We usually are not able to make it contract merely by thinking about it, as we can do with the skeletal muscle. So, what is involuntary? Involuntary means the action is going on within our body without even we knowing about it. This is called involuntary. And what is voluntary? Voluntary means the action that we do ourselves by thinking that now we have to bend or we have to stretch our hands for taking something. So this is called voluntary. And involuntary means the action that is going on within our body without even our any effort. So you have now come to know what is voluntary and involuntary. Now we will see what is cardiac muscle tissue. Cardiac muscle tissue is the contractile tissue present only in the heart. And this cardiac muscle is the most hardest tissue of our body. They are very strong. Cell junction fuse the plasma membrane of cardiac muscle tissue cells and make them thick together. Communication junction at some fusion points allow the cells to contract as unit. That is, when one cell receives a signal to contract, its neighbors are also stimulated to contract. So, you know what is a cardiac muscle? It is the strongest muscle of our body. Why? Because the cardiac muscles keeps on pumping blood since we are born up to the day we are dead. So, they are the strongest muscles of the bones. Now, what is neural tissue? Neural tissue exerts the greatest control over the body's responsiveness to changing conditions. Neurons, the unit of neural system, are excitable cells. The neurological cell, which constitute the rest of the neural system, protect and support neurons. Neurology make up more than one half the volume of neural tissues in our body. When a neuron is suitably stimulated, an electrical disturbance is generated which swiftly travels along its plasma membrane. Arrival of the disturbance at the neural ending or output zone triggers events that may cause stimulation or inhibition of adjacent neurons and other cells. So, students, we have finished this chapter, that is animal tissue, and you will in your future life will read more about neural tissues. Here in this class, it is the only little description is given to you about the neural tissues. Later on in life, you may read it in detail. So let us come to the conclusion of this chapter. I hope you have followed all the different types of things that we had already discussed. That is the epithelial tissue, the simple epithelial tissue, the compound epithelial tissue, the squamous epithelial tissue, the cuboidal, the columnar, the ciliated epithelial tissue, glandular epithelium, exocrine, endocrine, compound epithelium tissue, the three different types of tissue, that is tight junction, adhering junction, cap junction. Then comes the loose connective tissues, the alveolar tissue, the adipose tissue, the dense connective tissue, dense regular tissue, dense irregular tissue, and also the specialized connective tissue, the cartilages, bones, bloods, then comes the skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and finally the neural tissue. So I hope you have had an interesting class watching the video and listening to the lesson. So goodbye for today. Stay home, stay safe.